Once upon a time in the bustling city of Willow Creek lived an 11-year-old boy named Jack. Jack was your typical kid who loved playing video games. In fact, if there was one thing that surpassed his love for pizza, cookies and naps, it was definitely gaming. And not just any games, mind you. No, Jack was particularly enamored with a game called Time Runners. In this game, he and his virtual teammates would travel through time, preventing villains from altering history. Jack would get so immersed in the game that he often forgot to do his homework or skipped household chores. Sometimes he even lied to his friends about why he couldn't play with them, all because he wanted to spend more time in his virtual world. One day after school, Jack was walking home from school as usual. He walked down streets that looked the same every day. On this particular day, though, his eye caught sight of something unusual. It was a little shop nestled between a flower store and a bakery. He knew he had walked past this spot hundreds of times, yet somehow he had never noticed this shop before. Its windows were filled with peculiar items like old cameras, telescopes and clocks of all shapes and sizes. Intrigued, Jack decided to take a closer look. As he got closer, he saw a sign hanging above the door. It read, "Mr. Epic's Time Emporium, buy, sell, or trade your time." A chill ran down his spine. Could this shop really buy and sell time? Skeptical, yet curious, Jack pushed open the door and stepped inside. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old books and a hint of cinnamon. Behind a large oak desk sat an old man with twinkling eyes. His white hair seemed to defy gravity, standing out like a halo around his head. He wore round spectacles that glinted in the dim light of the shop. Looking to waste some time, the old man said with a mischievous grin, "Or maybe, borrow some." Startled by the man's sudden speech, Jack managed to stammer out, "Can I get more time to play games and skip the boring stuff?" The old man leaned forward, his eyes twinkling. "That is precisely what I have in store for you, my boy. Come closer." He reached under the counter and pulled out a golden pocket watch. It was adorned with swirling patterns and symbols that seemed to shift and change as Jack examined it. "What does this do?" Jack asked, his eyes wide with wonder. The old man, who introduced himself as Mr. Epic, explained that this watch could control time. With a twist of its dial, Jack could freeze time, stopping the world around him and allowing him to do whatever he wanted without interruption. Intrigued and excited, Jack couldn't resist the temptation of having more time to play and do as he pleased, so he took the watch without hesitation. He rushed home, eager to test out his new toy. As soon as he was inside, he hid the watch and did his homework and chores quickly so he could get to playing. Once they were done, he held the watch in his hand, took a deep breath, and twisted the dial. Everything around him seemed to pause. Cars froze in the street, birds hung suspended in the sky, and the ticking of the clock on the wall stopped abruptly. Jack was stunned. He could hear the blood rushing in his ears, but everything around him was still. Time had indeed stopped. At first, Jack was cautious. He was unsure about the implications of controlling time, but the allure of doing whatever he wanted without anyone stopping him proved too tempting. He started small, extending the time he played his video games by a few minutes here and there. Soon, he found himself spending entire days in his room, exploring virtual worlds, conquering quests, and earning victories without ever hearing his mother call him for dinner or feeling the sun set outside his window. He could hear the voices of his parents talking about him, but he couldn't respond. Frozen in time, Jack was locked in his silent world. Weeks turned into months, and Jack barely noticed. He continued to use the watch to extend his playtime, often forgetting about school and his responsibilities. He stopped interacting with his family and friends, choosing instead to spend all his time playing video games. Life outside the digital world seemed to fade away as he became engrossed in the virtual adventures. However, as time went on, he started to feel a growing emptiness within him. Despite having unlimited time to play, he began to long for the laughter, and warmth of his family, the chatter of his friends, and the feeling of being part of the world outside his room. The joy that gaming had once brought him had turned into a lonely and joyless pursuit. One day, overcome with longing, Jack decided to visit his mother. As he opened the door to his house, he was met with a scene that made his heart sink. The walls were bare, stripped of the photos and artwork that had once adorned them. The furniture was gone, replaced by cardboard boxes. A note was taped to the kitchen counter. It was from his mother explaining that she and his father had decided to move away because he had stopped talking to them. Seeing this, guilt and sadness washed over Jack. He had traded his real life for a fake one, losing touch with the people who loved him in the process. Determined to fix his mistakes, he raced back to the shop, hoping to return the watch and undo the damage he had done. But when he got there, he found that the Time Emporium had vanished. All that stood in its place was an ordinary brick wall. Panic surged through him. He tried the handle, but the door was gone. And then he noticed something strange. The pocket watch in his hand was no longer golden. It was now a simple silver pocket watch. He pressed his ear against it, but it was silent. The watch had stopped ticking. In that moment, Jack realized that he had wasted so much time. He had neglected his real life in pursuit of a virtual one. Now he couldn't even go back to fix it. Tears welled up in his eyes as he understood the gravity of his mistake. That night, lying in his bed, Jack thought about everything he had lost. The warmth of his family's love, the friendship of his peers, and the beauty of everyday life. He had traded all of it for a fantasy. As the sun rose the next morning, Jack got out of bed with a newfound determination. He looked around his empty room and decided it was time to start over. He went to the grocery store to get ingredients to make his mom's favorite meal. Afterward, he called up his friend Liam and apologized for ignoring him. Then he headed to school, where he began paying attention to his teachers and interacting with his classmates. Every day was a new challenge for Jack. He had to work hard to rebuild his relationships and catch up on his studies. But he was determined to make the most of the time he had left. He joined the school's robotics club, started volunteering at the local animal shelter, and began taking guitar lessons. It wasn't easy, but with each passing day, Jack felt a sense of fulfillment and joy he had never experienced before. He learned that the best way to use time was to spend it doing things that mattered to him, like helping others, pursuing his interests, and mending his broken relationships. Months went by, and Jack's life began to take a positive turn. His grades improved, his friendships deepened, and he even reconnected with his parents. Although he missed the escapism that gaming had once provided, he discovered that real life was far more exciting and fulfilling. He realized that the true adventure was in living each day to the fullest and cherishing the time he had with those around him. One evening, while watching the sunset with his father, Jack understood that although he couldn't get back the time he had wasted, he could still make the most of the time he had left. He learned that time wasn't something to freeze or waste. It was a gift meant to be cherished. And so Jack lived his life to the fullest, embracing every moment and appreciating the beauty of the world around him. He never forgot the lesson he had learned from Mr. Epic and the mysterious Time Emporium. For Jack, every day was a reminder to use his time wisely and live a life filled with purpose, joy, and love. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.